What's up everybody? My name is Brianna Rudder, and in this video, I'm gonna show you how to do crochet locks to the flow. We're gonna start off with some crochet locks. As you can see here, this is how one of them look, and I'm gonna show you a bundle how they look together. I actually purchased 12 packs of Faux Locs crochet from Amazon, and the color is ombre brown number 1B30. I have a total of 140 locks in my head, but you only need 3 locks at a time to create it going all the way to the floor. So we're gonna start off with just 2 here. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna loop the tail end of the previous lock into the beginning of the first one. So I'm grabbing the tail end of the second one, and I'm just going to make sure to just pull it through, and then I'm actually going to create a couple of knots, but make sure you pull it through about 1 inch or so that way when you create your knots and wrap the curl around itself, it will actually blend in very seamlessly. So as you can see here, I'm doing 2 knots, and I'm gonna show you how you want to curl that in so that it looks like one consistent lock. So you're just going to take the piece as you see here, and you're just going to wrap it around itself. Very simple and easy to do. You don't have to use any type of styling product to do this unless you want to, but it's not really necessary. So this is how the locks look together, and even though there's a super tiny gap in between where they connected, you won't see it when all the locks are together. Now we're gonna grab our third lock, and we're gonna make sure to put the top of the third lock by wrapping the second end of the lock into it. So as you can see, I'm just forming the same 2 knots I did at the beginning, and then I'm gonna curl the tail end of the crochet lock onto itself. So like I said, even though you see that small gap there, you're not gonna notice it when all the locks are together. So now that we have one example lock done, I'm gonna show you multiple techniques of how you want to install these onto your scalp, because it's really going to depend on what products you have on hand and also which methods you prefer. So first I'm gonna show you the first technique with a crochet latch hook. So the very first thing we're going to do is put it through the lock, and then we're gonna make sure to divide that section in half. So I'm only looping 1/2 of my hair as you see here. So my hair is totally loose. I'm not using any other products at this point. So I pull 1/2 of my section through, and then I'm going to grab an elastic band. I'm going to grab the other section, and then I'm going to elastic band on top of the lock. Now some people like to put the elastic band directly on their roots, but this technique is for those of you who have a sensitive scalp. That way the rubber band is not directly on your scalp. Keep watching because I got so many other techniques to show you, but for this first one, this is definitely going to make your style last very long without worrying about the band being directly on your scalp causing irritation. So now it's time to crochet our real hair inside of the crochet faux lock. So what I'm doing is I open my latch, and I'm gently making sure to push all the way through the center of the lock, going all the way near the beginning. So I grab the tail end of my hair and I pull through. Now depending on the length of your crochet latch hook will determine how far you can go underneath your hair. So as you can see here, I'm literally moving about 3 to 4 inches at a time, making sure that I get as close to that previous exit as possible, so that way my hair is not really sticking out much throughout this style. So I just make sure to wrap it around, and I pull it straight through. Now, as you can see, I have a pretty small section of hair left. What I'm going to do is take my crochet latch hook and go through the lock far enough back. So that way, once I grab the tail end of my hair, it will pull straight through without the end sticking out. So you just make sure to open your latch. You're gonna put your hair around it, close your latch, and then pull through. As you can see here, this is the first technique of installing a crochet faux lock. So now we're gonna go on to the second technique. You're gonna need to use a little bit of edge control to keep your roots flat, and you're gonna see why. So you're literally just gonna take a very small amount, and you're going to put it near and around the roots of your hair, not on your scalp. Just in case that products may sit and be a little irritating on your pores, you don't need to put it directly on your scalp, just the roots of your hair. Now I divide my real hair into 3 sections, and I'm braiding. I did not add any braiding hair. This is 100% me just using my real hair to braid a braid. So don't add any braiding hair to this point, just use your real hair if it's long enough to braid. So as you can see here, I left the ends a little loose just so it's easier to take this braid down later when I remove my crochet locks. So you're simply going to open your latch hook and slide it through your roots. You're going to put the beginning of the faux loc on, and then you're going to open it up with your index and thumb to grab your real hair and the end of the crochet lock to pull both through at the same time. The reason why you want to do that with this technique is because it allows for your real hair to lay as flat as possible against your crochet faux loc. You want to pull your real braid through the actual beginning with your crochet lock. So now we're going to go through with our latch hook, and we're going to make sure to go back as far as possible depending on the length of your needle. So if your needle is very long, you can actually go more longer down the twist or the faux loc, and then you can go all the way up to the top. But depending on the length of your crochet will determine how far you can push the crochet hook through your faux loc, as you can see here. So I'm just grabbing the remaining of my hair to pull through to complete this technique. So now with this technique, what I'm going to do is just divide my hair into two sections. And the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crochet my hair around one of the sections, as you see here. Now at this point, what I'm actually going to do is braid my hair with the crochet faux loc already attached. With this technique, it actually helps for your style to look a little bit more natural at the root, being that you're not using a rubber band at the root of your hair. Also, if your hair is longer for braiding, you want to do this technique as well. But if your hair is shorter, meaning if it's around 3 inches or so, it may be too short to braid with this technique, as you see here. So you would want to put a rubber band first. But doing this technique is super gentle on your scalp. That's why I really like it. So now once you push your crochet hook all the way to the top, you're gonna grab the tail end of your braid, and then you're gonna pull through. Now sometimes, depending on which technique you do, will determine if you wanna braid your hair or leave it loose. But when you braid it, it prevents your hair from sticking out along your locks. So now with this last technique, I simply just braid my hair from the scalp. I put my crochet through my root, and then I pull the lock on the opposite side. You actually close your lash to pull through your crochet. You open up your crochet beginning part, as you see here, and then you're gonna pull your braid and your lock into itself, as you see. Now this is different from the other technique because this does not include you putting a rubber band on your roots. You actually just braid your hair. So some of the techniques do look similar, but they have totally different methods as to why. You want to make sure that you're braiding your hair at the root and not using a rubber band if you have a sensitive scalp. And you also want to make sure that your hair is long enough to braid from the scalp. So if your hair is shorter than 3 inches, then I suggest that you always use rubber bands when doing any type of individual crochet technique, because this style actually requires you to do individual crochet instead of crocheting the hair on a braid pattern. So now we're just gonna make sure to go up far enough with our crochet hook to pull the tail end of the hair through. And as you can see here is a very tiny piece left. You wanna make sure that you don't leave any hair out because it can kind of throw off your look. So just take your time and make sure you're grabbing all of your hairs when pulling through. So now I'm gonna show you the technique once more on one of my braids here so that you can see it a little bit better. Let me know in the comments below what hairstyle should I create next. And oh, by the way, if you're interested in becoming a full-time YouTuber like me, then I made an online course called YouTube University, where I teach you all the ins and outs of how to become a full-time YouTuber. If you're interested, links are in the description below. And there you have it, ladies. This is the final look to the crochet faux locs to the flow. And I'll catch y'all in the next video.